Good afternoon. Welcome to the beginner hand building project. This is going to be a really easy thing to make. Anybody can do it. All you need is a little ball of clay. So what we're going to do, take a little bit of clay. Take a rolling pin and you're going to roll it out. Also make sure that your rolling pin is clean. So to make sure that it's even, you're going to turn your clay over. Turn it around. What we're making today is a textured ring holder. Even children can do this. It makes a nice little gift too. Good to stretch the clay out too. Get the bubbles out. It's recycled clay. Basically, it's like making pie crust. And you are going to bake it. So this is what I'm going to use to cut it out. So that looks like that's going to be big enough. We're going to put it in a dish like this. So I wanted something that would be just a little bit bigger than the bottom so it can curl up. So I just found this looked like a good shape. You can use any dish that you want. It could be plastic, anything. Okay, so I'm going to use this tool to cut it out. Or you can use a knife, whatever you have handy. I like this little tool here. I'm just going to kind of trace it out so that I'll know what I'm working on. And so you're going to get something that you can use for texture. I have lots of things I use for texture. But today I'm just going to use some, like a tablecloth or lace or anything that you can roll into it. So I'm going to smooth that out. And, whoops. And I'm going to roll that texture right into the clay. I don't know why it's doing this. It would normally do this. So you want to be able to just kind of see it coming through to know that it's actually making the design is going into the clay. I also have some really neat wooden blocks that are handmade that I use to put textures in, and these make some really neat designs. But today we'll just use something easy. Something that you just might have around the house, or you can go to the dollar store and look for anything that makes a kind of texture that you think that you would like in your dish. Okay, so now I'm going to cut it out. Just gonna hold the side against it and use that as a template. It's like this one's about to come apart. I've got my video out of it. So you want to smooth the sides if there's any roughness in it. You can wet your finger a little bit, just a tiny bit, to smooth it out. You never want sharp or rough edges in anything that you're making. So one of the things that I do that's kind of unique is I like to use coconut oil because it smells good, to keep this from sticking in the bowl. But a lot of people, if you've got this around the house, you can just lightly spray it just like you were cooking, like that. Because we're going to lay that in there, we're going to use it as a mold. So I'm using coconut oil. And coconut oil just lasts forever. If it's too greasy, I'll lightly blot it. And then I'm going to take this up and I'm going to lay this in here and gently press it in to use as a mold. You see? This is probably about one of the easiest things that you can make. But it's something every woman can use. You put your rings in here. Just the things that you use frequently, just have it handy beside you or your makeup table. So you want to just kind of press that in there. You're trying to get it to take the shape. And you want to make sure that you don't want to push the pattern out, but very lightly press down because you want it to be flat on the bottom. Clay has a memory. Sometimes it remembers things you don't want it to remember. This is a little bit rough right there. All right, I'm going to use my fingernail for that. Normally, whenever I'm shaping something like this, I'll lay something in it when it's drying, but we won't be able to put too much in here to keep it from warping up because we've got to put something in the middle. Okay, so I'm taking another little wad of clay, kind of like a sausage. Want it to be even. I'm going to roll it out. So this is what the rings go on. You kind of work it up and down because you want it to be even. See how I'm going like that? Work out. Now these techniques you can use to make a lot of different things. And this is just some basic you did. You're doing hand building, you're doing this, that's a slab. This you can use in coil building because you're making coils. But this is a basic you can start with. You won't find it, get discouraged early on when you're learning to do all this. I think that's about big enough. So I'm gonna cut that off. Now I could bend it over. I've done that before. make it look kind of like an umbrella. But I don't think I'm going to do that today, because we're not really doing an umbrella here. Some of the bowls I've done have been kind of like an umbrella handle. So I want to taper this a little bit. Now you could put a pattern in this if you wanted to. In fact, we can do that. Just to give it a little decoration. And kind of roll it out on our, just to give it, because whenever you glaze, if you have, the more texture you have, the more variety you have where the glaze can move and catch and give different highlights where there's texture, which is why I like hand building, because you can put a lot of textures in there. A little water for this, just to smooth that out. And thought I had everything together, but always something I forget. So, when hand building, when you're attaching things, you're always using slip. Slip is like clay glue. So you can take a little bit of, you can do it with anything, but it's easier to put on with a brush. That may be too high, but that's okay. So I'm going to make a little bit of a, rough that up a little bit where I'm going to attach it. This is usually a little bit wetter. This is clay with water in it. It dried out a little bit, but that's okay. You can just add water. Rough this up a little bit, and then I'm going to attach this, and this is basically the rings slip down over that, and then you can put other rings in here. You can make this shorter if you like. You can, customize it and do any way, whatever works for you. Make it your own. And I like to take a little bit of the clay and try to push it down, move it down so that it attaches and won't fall off. You can use a tool for that. Use anything really, just to move the clay. And I'm pushing it down to the bottom. If you have children, you can do this project with children, or use these basic concepts and make something else. Any kind of slab building. You do a lot of things with slabs and molding it into bowls and using all kinds of fun textures. Or just if you want to get started in clay and you've never done anything before and you just want to do something really easy to begin with. In the future videos, we'll do things that are a little bit more complicated, but I just wanted to start off with something easy. This clay was it was recycled clay, so it was a little bit dry. And want to make sure that this stays on. Try not to get the texture out of here either. I think probably I would have liked that to be a little shorter. The next one I make, I'll make it a little bit shorter. That looks a little tall, but one thing you need to remember when you're working with clay is it shrinks. So it'll never be the size that you make it, which is why it'll come out of this bowl. I mean, you do have to grease the bowl, but it'll shrink out of this bowl, and then I'll just pull it out. So there you go. You've got a little ring holder, and that was easy peasy, right? So the next video, we'll probably make an owl planter, and that's a pinch pot. So that's a different style of, a different technique for pottery. A little more complicated, but still beginner level. Okay, thanks for watching.